Over the past couple of days, Manchester United have been linked with a move for a young midfielder going by the name of Archie Gray. Who is he? Well, he's an 18-year-old Englishman standing at around 6 foot tall, currently with 4 years left on his contract at Leeds United in the Championship. And this is a player which I am a huge fan of. I really like the look of him. I like the talks surrounding this deal. So obviously today I'm going to tell you some of his strengths and his weaknesses as a player and why I think he should be on Manchester United's radar. We will start off with the strengths, and we're talking about Archie Gray on the ball. The question is, where are we talking about him on the ball? Well, naturally, I think he is a central midfielder. However, this season he is often played at right back. As you can see in his heat map here, he has spent a lot of the season playing in wider areas. But for me, more naturally, he is a central midfielder because of his skill set. What does that skill set contain? Intelligence. This is an old head on young shoulders. He looks a step ahead of everyone in the Championship when he receives the ball. He just looks like he knows what's going to happen before anyone else does. That's a trait which is really difficult to teach in a player. And it leads to him, like I said, despite not actually being the quickest player in the world, always being ahead of everyone in midfield. Giving him one thing, press resistance. Unbelievably good with the ball under pressure. That's not necessarily always true of players which are around 6 foot tall, because they don't have that low centre of gravity and ability to turn in quite the same way. With Archie Gray he does though. It's his manipulation which I feel. You know, his understanding of where the opposition is, where the opposition kind of has their weight, you know, whether they're moving to the left or to the right, how quick they're coming towards him. He just always uses that against his opponent to then manipulate them, destroy them realistically, go past them, and it allows him to play out from the back. And I do want to look at some clips of this from Once Video Analyzer Pro. Great video analysis software. There will be a link in the description down below. It recently got a big update. I reckon you go check it out. We can see here though, he has such an ability to protect the ball because he's always aware of where his opponent is. But also because physically, he's a strong guy. Only 18 years old, but he's got quite a big frame. And I think when he grows into it, you know, puts on a bit of muscle and a bit of mass, I think he's really going to be a really difficult player to tackle. But already, his strength is absolutely brilliant. The ability to hold off players like Caicedo, as we can see here in the cup competition. The ability to hold off these players and then in just a random moment quickly drop a shoulder and go the other way is absolutely brilliant. Where I really like it though is in slightly deeper position. So here he has received the ball from the goalkeeper. And you can see the way he is facing is towards his right hand side. You can see the sort of area he is looking towards. It looks as though he is going to play in this direction. And of course, as a result, the opposition lunge that way. We can see the opposition forward here, stepping to their left-hand side. Archie Gray knows in his head, though, that if he now plants his left foot, that foot is between the opposition and the ball. It's between the opposition and the ball, meaning the opponent literally can't get the ball without fouling him, which gives him this license to then drop the shoulder, turn the other way, and then move away from danger. We can see it here. Because he has planted his left foot towards the opposition player, it gives him all this space to move into towards the other side, and it's just quality. I just love press resistance in a player, and Gray has it in abundance. Another example here of just pure quality. Again, he's going to show physical strength initially. He's kind of holding off the challenge. The other bloke is going to end up kind of face planting into the floor, which is pretty entertaining. But it's his ability to shift his weight, to move the opposition, to manipulate the ball, and importantly, do this with both feet. Some players can be quite one-footed with the way that they dribble and play out from the back, meaning that they can be a little bit predictable with what way they dribble. Gray doesn't have that. He has the ability to touch the ball with either foot. We can see it here. First touch with the left foot as he squares up the opposition. He's going to quickly adjust his balance and then stick the ball through the opponent's leg. Again, it's just absolutely brilliant. It allows him to come out the other side with the ball at his feet. But again, for me, it is the deeper areas where I prefer it the most because I think these manipulations are so important and actually just a bit rarer in most players. So here, if you're watching the game at normal speed, it looks really quite simple what he does. He just kind of shifts his body, moves the opposition player. But there's fine details in this. So the first thing he does is we can see him shaping up here, and he's going to take a touch with the outside of his right boot. Now what does that do? That suggests to the opposition that he is going to be moving in this direction, towards the right hand side, because he's touching the ball with the outside of his right boot. He is going to push the ball this direction. And we can see the opposition player kind of takes that bait because his left foot here is now planted. The opposition has kind of committed to shaping his body to deal with the ball going that way. So what Gray then does is he will quickly shift the ball the other way, quicker than what the opposition can adjust, and now we can see the body position of this guy here. He's just not really in a place to tackle, because the left foot has already been planted behind him. He can't then properly lunge forward with his right foot and intercept going this way. We can see when he does, he ends up off balance. And then Archie Gray also has the ability to go after that ball and then knock it on to his teammate. The press resistance is just absolutely brilliant, and I love it. I love it. In terms of what else he has to his game, passing ability. You would expect this from a young midfielder. His passing is really, really good. That can be short, sharp, 5-yard passes, again with either foot, or it can be long, raking switches of play. Now, I don't necessarily think he has been able to show this off that much this season, playing at right back. Often overlapping out wide. He hasn't been able to show that skill set quite as much. But trust me, when he gets on the ball and does do it, it's phenomenal. His passing is just absolutely brilliant. I also love his stride length in midfield. It allows him to get away from opponents. All round, I just love him. And I think he's going to develop into a player which can dictate tempo and really take hold of a game. And I don't know how else to word it, apart from he has this I'm him sort of trait. You know those players where when the going gets tough, they just grab the ball, they take responsibility, they make things happen in tight spaces, they just deal with situations. Gray has that in abundance. In possession, but also out of possession. Defensively, he's really good. This season, like I've said a couple of times, he has largely played as a right back. Now, what this has exposed him to, from a defensive point of view, is 1-versus-1 situations. And largely, he has dealt with these situations brilliantly, as we can see in his FB ref report. He developed into a really good 1-versus-1 defender. If you now imagine him kind of taking that skill set back into midfield, in perhaps a man-to-man pressing structure, again, there's a lot to like. In terms of skill set, Archie Gray is so good. The question is tactical fit.
So before we continue into the video, a quick shout out to today's video sponsor, JerseyFifa.com, the home of all of the greatest football kits. Whether that be the new latest releases or the old classic ones like this, Jersey FIFA has something for everyone, and now you can check it out yourself using the link in the description down below. And also make sure to use code JerseyFifa for 10% off when you order.
So if Gray was to come into the club this summer, there would be a few different tactical things which United could do. One would be to use Gray as a right back, and probably in the short term as a backup to Diogo Dalot. You know, manage Gray, manage expectations, manage his minutes, the development of his body. It would be important to be able to give him that rotation role. From right back, he can do a few different things. He can be someone who overlaps and plays in a traditional way, but what I really like is the idea of that modern fullback inverting into midfield. The box midfield that he could create alongside, let's say, a proper number 6, and then Bruno Fernandes and Kobbie Mainoo, has the potential to be really exciting in terms of what this side could do on the ball, the press resistance that it would possess, but also importantly the ability in terms of squad management to take Diogo Dalot out of the side and bring a player in who can still do the same role. I think that would be incredibly important to Manchester United. So there is definitely the potential to use Gray in this position, and that's why I like him. He's a really useful squad player. He can play a few different roles. One of those roles he could also play is as more of a 6 in midfield. Let's put him in as a lone 6. Now, again, the sample size of Gray doing this in senior football isn't as big because he's been used as right back a lot. But again, trust me, I think he has the skill set to be a solo 6. Not something we see that much in modern football. Again, perhaps Dalot would still invert alongside him, but the skill set is brilliant. We have seen the press resistance in the first phase. His build-up qualities, playing out from the back, are absolutely brilliant. Of course, he's a young player, so he makes errors, he makes mistakes, but guess what? He's human, and a young one at that, so there's plenty of time to kind of grow out of that, mature, gain some experience, and he could develop further. But I really do think, because of his natural calm on the ball, his comfort on the ball, there is the potential for this to be a player who really dictates possession. Really dictates possession, and he could be a valuable asset to any side in terms of being a player who is literally the pivot point for the side. You go left, if it doesn't work, you come back, you go back into Gray midfield, you go right, you try over there, it doesn't work, you come back to Gray midfield, you go back the other side. He can also play through the middle as well. I really like that idea. And then defensively, we've already discussed the fact that 1-versus-1, he's a really good defender. Those long legs of his allow him to kind of reach out and tackle the ball when it doesn't really look likely. He's absolutely brilliant. The question would be, perhaps aerially in this Manchester United side. Lisandro Martinez at centre-back isn't the biggest. Bruno Fernandes and Kobbie Mainoo aren't exactly aerial battlers which go and win every single duel in the air. So that would be a question over Archie Gray if he was to come into the team as a 6. But regardless, I just think he's a quality player, and this is something he could do for United. Perhaps in the short term, again, he would be a bench option. if you sign an Onana to play ahead of him, for example. But again, in the long term, you could get yourself a quality player. And then the other option is to play him in a double 8 system. And this is perhaps the solution I like the most. Archie Gray alongside someone like Kobbie Mainoo. Now again, perhaps this doesn't happen immediately. To play in the Premier League with 2 teenage midfielders would be bold. How many times have we seen it happen? Not too often at all. So it would be a bold decision to make. Perhaps again in the short term you use him as a rotation player and then slowly integrate him into the first team and give him more minutes over the next couple of seasons. If you were to do that, the technical quality of this duo would be an absolute joke. An absolute joke. If you were looking to be a side which retained possession, which, do United want to do that? I'm not sure. But if you were looking to be a side which retained the ball, this duo in midfield with, let's say, Shaw, or perhaps in a few years a different left back, and Diogo Dalot at right back, the ball retention across this line has so much potential. So much potential. And again, I think it would be quality. Obviously, we know the skill set he is going to bring to this position. What I like about this particular system is that at times it allows Kobbie Mainoo to drop deeper and get more touches on the ball, and it gives Gray the potential to carry the ball, a bit like a Declan Rice sort of vibe, you know, that long stride length, battling his way through the midfield as he carries it through the pitch. And that is something which, once again, Archie Gray could do. And all round, I think you guys can probably tell, this is a player which I really like, and I'm really excited to hear that Manchester United are interested in him. There is one big sticking point. He plays for Leeds United. He is a Leeds fan. His whole family is Leeds fans. It's going to make any deal quite difficult. And Leeds will be aware of his quality, should they get promoted as well. He won't be that cheap. In terms of price range, truthfully, I have absolutely no idea what he would cost. But I really like the idea of this signing. I really, really like it. As a player you bring in, you manage and develop for a few seasons, and then 2026, 2027, he's really going to blossom into an incredible footballer. Yes, please. He's a homegrown talent, which we know that INEOS are interested in. There's a lot of boxes which he ticks. Experience and physicality, perhaps the two he doesn't, but that will come with time, we hope. So I like the idea of it, and I will look closely at Archie Gray for the rest of the season with the potential idea that he could sign for us in the summer. But let me know what you think in the comments down below. What do you think of him? Have you actually watched him? If you haven't, what does this video tell you about him? Do you like the profile which I'm talking about? And what else would you like to know, perhaps in a future video? All of that, let me know in the comments down below. But apart from that, we are finished for today. So thank you guys for watching. I hope you have enjoyed it. And as always, I'll see you in the next one.